Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. Today we have an exciting video planned. If you aren't prepared to sit through at least a 30-minute tutorial on how to do a drag versus like glam look, then you might want to go grab a drink, grab some snacks, because this is going to be a long video today. I did this look on live last night and I was like, this would be such a pretty drag look, but it's also such a pretty glam look. So I was like, why not do a YouTube video doing a tutorial of both? So I am going to do this side of my face in drag beat, and I'm gonna walk through how to glue down brows, how to draw a new brow in, how to do a deeper contour, how to contour for drag basically on this side versus how to do a glam version of it on this side. A lot of people have been asking me for a drag tutorial on how to glue down brows and stuff like that. So you know what? Might as well just do this in a one long, beautiful video that we can all get ready together with. So that is what today is going to be. So if you guys want to see what I come up with, keep on watching. Okay, so first up in this tutorial, we are going to start on the brow just because the brows for drag take a little bit longer. The biggest tip that I will give to any new time queen, and disclaimer, I am not a drag queen. I do not do drag, so this is simply the makeup of drag. I am not doing a full tutorial on how to do a wig outfit, stuff like that, no. Go look at other queens for that because they are way better than me. But this is how I paint for drag makeup, okay? So first thing that you're gonna do is grab a cotton pad and you're going to spray. I like to go in with alcohol. I like to go through the brow to make sure that there's no oils, to make sure that there's no moisturizer, basically to make sure that the glue is going to stick down to a clean surface. Okay, if you're using alcohol, be careful of going too close to your eyeball. Don't get it in your eye. So I just like to brush it back and forth, making sure that there's nothing in that brow and that we know that the glue stick, yes, I said that correctly, glue stick is going to stick. Okay, so we're gonna skip the glam side right now just because the glue process takes a little bit. So what we are going to do, we are going to grab a washable glue stick. When I say washable, make sure it's washable. Okay, if you're going in with a generic glue stick, most likely you will come out with no brows. Just a pre-warning. So I like the Elmer's purple glue stick. What I like to do, because I have a lot of struggles doing a drag brow from scratch, what I like to do, I like to hold the first little bit of my brow down, and then I just go in with my glue stick and really get that in there. Go back and forth to make sure that every single hair is covered in glue. And then what you're gonna do, you're gonna go against the grain of your hair. So some drag queens like to just go straight up, but I find that at least better if you just go with your hair. So in the front here, they go up and then they go into like an arch moment. Then once you have that first layer and still hold it, grab a spoolie and brush those hairs to where you want them to lie down, okay? If you don't do this, this will be a hot mess. Trust. So once you're here, still have that down and push with pressure to lie them flat. Okay, so on the end, the first round, you should have a nice flat surface on your brow to build up. Okay, so for drag brows, gluing them especially, if you have thin brows and you don't have much to glue down, then honestly, you could probably get away with one layer and then continue on to the next steps. For me, because I have super thick brows, unfortunately, I have to do like 3 or 4 layers, okay? But after the second layer, I am going to show you guys what I do. So I am going to, again, hold that non-glued part, push along that brow, And then you are going to grab a translucent setting powder or white setting powder. I like to go in with the Ben Nye Super White, just because it has a little bit more pigment to it. I like to go in with a brush, squeeze it together, pick up that powder, and press it in to the skin. If you don't press, it's going to loosen up the brow hairs, which we don't want. So you press the powder deep into the skin. Yes? Cool. You with me? Okay, and because I have very thick brows, I'm gonna do this 2 more times and then I'll come right back. Okay, after layer 4 is down for me, I like to go in with a Q-tip, a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and I just like to clean up the glue around the brow. That way, just when you lay foundation a little bit later, it's a little bit smoother surface rather than you see that like dip of the glue, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna go in with a Q-tip, a little bit of alcohol, and do that. Okay, now that that is done, we are gonna go into the next step. For today's look, I'm going to do the step, but normally I would just go straight into drawing a brow and then cover later. But because we're using rich pinks, I want to make sure that it's a smooth pink throughout the whole process. So we are going to grab a full coverage foundation. This is the Juvia's Place Velvety Matte Foundation. This is legit the most full coverage foundation I own. It's crazy. So I'm going to grab some on the back of my hand. I'm going to pat some on that brow, a little around to make sure that it fully covers. Like you guys can just see like how crazy. I'm going to grab my sponge and I'm going to tap in that foundation. So it creates a nice smooth blank canvas for the brow action that we're going to be doing later. Okay, next up is the brow. So for drag, you normally, when you are painting your face, for me, I have a very masculine face. When I paint for drag, I like to bring all of my features a little bit more feminine. So I like to, instead of drawing my brow like I normally would, I like to draw with a little bit more curve and a little bit more of an arch than I normally would. That way it gives you the space to play with a drag look. So we are gonna do that together. Okay, so first step, I am going to grab the Rare Beauty Brow Definer. This is such a super pigmented brow pencil. I was not expecting it when it first came out because Rare Beauty is all about like that natural makeup. God, no. It's completely different. So what we are going to do, we are going to draw the bottom of what you would like your brow to look like. Okay? So I like to start from the start of my brow that I haven't glued down. I like to bring it up. And again, it's going to go a lot higher than your normal brow. And then draw a nice tail, okay? Fill in that line. So just like that, you have your bottom of your brow already done. Now you're basically just going to do the same thing to the top. And now once you have the top and bottom brow, you're going to fill in and then once you start getting into that inner corner of the brow, you're going to very, very lightly fill it in so you get that ombre effect. Okay, now that we have that filled in and it's looking not too shabby, we are going to grab a spoolie and just brush those front hairs to make it look as natural as a beginning of a brow as possible. When you do that, you do lose a little bit of pigment right where that glue and the natural hair goes. So I'm just gonna go back in with my pencil and fill it in. Okay, next up, you don't have to do this. You could honestly just cut out your brows and they would be fine right now. But I like to go in with a very small tip pencil that's very, very dark, so almost black, and draw in natural fake hairs to make it look more like realistic, if that makes sense. Okay, now that the brow is done. I'm gonna go cut it out. This one, you just follow the natural brows. I'm not gonna do it on camera because, again, we don't want this to be an hour long. And then I'm actually just gonna go ahead and do this brow off camera to save a little bit of time. You guys have seen me do my brows multiple times on here, so I don't think we need to see that again. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, and we are back with the brows all done. So they are cut. This one I just did as normal. This one I added a little bit of highlighter right underneath. So just a very light concealer underneath the brow, just to give it a little bit of a lift. Remember, highlighting is going to lift things forward. Contour is to sink them in. Okay, so because we want those brows to pop, we're gonna put that highlight right on that brow bone to really lift it forward. Okay, just remember that. That is the main premise of doing makeup, is to add some depth and some highlight. Okay, so first up, we are going to go in with a pink base. So we are gonna go in with the Basic Brights P.louise base in Poppin' Pink. If you don't have this, you can obviously just do this with a very bright pink eyeshadow. For me, I just like to go in with a little bit of P.louise just because I have it, so might as well use it. And it creates just a very nice standard of color throughout the whole look. Okay, so we're gonna first start with the drag side. Because this is already a base, we don't need to prime the lids. If you were going in with shadows, obviously go in with a primer, but this already is a primer, so I'm not gonna do a double primer. So I'm going to pick up a little bit on the back of a big fluffy synthetic brush. Because it is a cream product, you need a synthetic brush. If you try and go in with the natural hair, it will damage the hairs and your brush will not last that long. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to stamp in where I want the most pigment. Because we are doing a drag look, we can take it a lot higher than what we normally would. Like this is already going into my brows, so I would never do that for this side. I will show you how I do it on this side, just after this side. God, English. So I'm just going to stamp in where I would like all of that pigment. We are only keeping this on the outer 3/4 of the eyeball. And the best way to work with P.louise is stamping motions. So just stamp it out rather than try and blend it. Okay, because it's drag, I want more, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. Okay, now that we have that nice evenness on this eye, we're gonna go in and do the Glam side. So Glam side, you're gonna grab a little bit less product just because you have a lot less space to work with. And we're just gonna focus really that on the outer corner of the eye. So just like what we would normally do for any other Glam look, we're just gonna focus right on that outer corner, and we are still going in pressing motions. P.louise works best with taps rather than blending. Okay, now that we have both bases down for the pink, we are gonna go in and add the purple. So I'm gonna go in with my Me, Myself, and Mitchel palette, and I'm gonna go into both of the purples and basically add depth where you would normally do. Remember, dark colors should be sitting more to the outside and lighter should be on the inside of the eye to really pop the eye forward. Okay, same thing on this side. I am not gonna bring it any further in than I would on any other look, okay? So really pack that in first and then you can go in and blend. So I forgot to mention it, but I'm also gonna go on this side and just do the exact same thing. Okay, so next up, now that we have the deep purple in the base in there, we are gonna pick up a bright pink eyeshadow. If you weren't using the P.louise, obviously just go in with that same pink. And I'm going to pick up quite a bit on a brush and I'm going to go stamp it in to that outer part of the eye just to add in that pink back into the eye. Okay, obviously we're not gonna leave it that harsh. For the drag side, you could leave it a little bit more bold, but because I love to blend, I'm gonna grab a very, very light pink, like a pastel pink, and I'm just gonna go over everything that I did just to really re-blend everything on both eyes. Okay, so next up, we are done with the purples and pinks. We are gonna go in with the blue. So we're gonna start with a nice, pretty bright blue, just to get the definition. So we're gonna put this right on the crease to where that purple meet and pack it in first, okay? Pack and blend is a lot easier than just going in with windshield wiper motions because you can control it a little bit easier. For when I do drag looks, I don't like to take shadows right on my inner corner. I like to keep them up about 1/2 centimeter above where my inner corner is. Just so when I do the cut crease later, it really brings my eyes forward. Another thing that I'm going to note, for drag side, it is definitely okay to get some of that beginning shadow into the brow. All that you want to make sure that is open is where that arch of the brow is, just so you can add the highlight in later. But for that beginning, I am really blending this blue right into that brow. This side, not so much. You want to be a little bit more careful. And for all of you guys wondering why I do my eyes first, is just because you can see a lot of the fallout that's coming onto my eyes. That way it's just a lot easier to clean up rather than trying to like bake and clean it up, and it's just a lot easier. So for me, I always like to do my eyes first before I do my base. Okay, now that we have the lighter blue in, we're gonna go in with a nice deep blue. So we're gonna use Moody Mitch, not Hoodie Mitch, to really deepen in that blue. Okay, now that that blue is there and looking snatched, it's time to cut the creases. You guys all know my little trick. I like to go in with a Q-tip and a little bit of makeup eraser just to erase the pigment on the eye before we go in with the concealer. So I'm gonna do that and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back and my camera kind of overheated, so it stopped recording. So, in that time that I was gone, I went ahead and pre-cut this crease, added the shimmers. I wanted to talk about this side, but obviously now I'm just gonna have to talk about this side. So we are going to take an off-white color, or you could just take a white itself. We're gonna pick it up on a Morphe 421, and we are going to stamp out the crease. Don't forget to stamp. If you go in and just swipe it, you have a 9 out of 10% chance of messing it up. I'm gonna be honest. So stamp it out and do that. Okay, next step, we are gonna go in with a purple shimmer on a big old packing brush, and we're just gonna go on those edges. Okay, next up, we're gonna grab a pink shimmer and go on the edges and go a little bit more into the lid. Now we're gonna grab a pastel pink shimmer and go like right there, almost to that inner corner. And then now I'm gonna go in with a white on that inner corner to really pop it forward. Okay, now that eyes are done, now it's time to go on to the face. I was going to do like a full tutorial on this side, full tutorial on this side, but I feel like if I do that, we're legit going to be at like an hour long for this tutorial. So what we're gonna do, because this is really focused on the drag side of everything, and because I just did a complexion tutorial on one of my last videos, I will take it in the box below. We are going to really focus on how to get that depth for the drag look, and then we will go into the other, the other side. Okay, so first up, in a drag makeup look, any makeup look, you want to make sure you are moisturized. Okay, just because you're packing on all that stuff, you need the moisturizer underneath. Even if you're oily, still moisturize. Okay, if you are oily, you can use a light water-based foundation or a light water moisturizer. But for me, I'm pretty dry, so I like to go in with a thick moisturizer. I have already pre-moisturized and oiled myself, so I'm not gonna do that right now, but I am still gonna go in with a primer, okay? We're going to go in with 2 primers, actually. We are gonna go in with a e.l.f. Putty Primer for all those pore areas and for any texture on the skin. And then we're gonna go in with the Jemini Collective Prep and Primer for all over for that extra hydration boost. So we're gonna take a little bit on my finger and we're just going to press that into all of my pore and problem areas first. My lips are really dry, so I'm just gonna throw on a gloss right now really quick. That was too much. Okay, now we're gonna get into the hydrating primer. This I'm gonna just go all over my face, and I am going to do my other side right now too, just so I can get two sides done in one. When you're around that putty primer, you wanna make sure you're tapping in the primer rather than swiping. Okay, next up, when I like to do drag makeup, I like to underpaint. So that means following the Makeup by Mario technique, where you paint all underneath. So you do your cream contours, your concealers, all of that first, and then you go in with the foundation. I find it gives you a little bit better of a finish rather than like such a caked on finish, if that makes sense. So that is what we are going to do today. But again, you could do foundation first and then contour and then concealer like normal people. I'm just not normal. So I am gonna go in with my contour and concealer first and then foundation later. Okay, we're gonna go in with the Fenty Matchstick in Truffle. This is one of the darkest ones that they have. So I'm really going to press that in to where I want that contour. Remember, contour, you are pushing back. Highlight, you are bringing forward, okay? Because drag, I'm going to make sure that this stays pretty dominant in the eye, just so it makes my face a little bit more feminine. I am going to really contour that upper because, again, I have a receding hairline. Don't clock me for that because I clock myself for it. So, and then I like to go a little bit on that jaw, down the nose, and then a little underneath the lip. Now I'm gonna go in with the JH08 brush. This is the Anything Creamy brush from Jaclyn Hill and Morphe, and I'm going to press it into the skin, basically in the same zone as it already is. Okay, now that I stamped the cheek contour, let's move on to the forehead. Okay, I know this is looking very strange right now, you guys, but trust the process, okay? Underpainting always looks absolutely insane until you add the foundation later on. Okay, now that the contour is done, time for the highlight. I'm gonna go in with the Rare Beauty highlight because it's a beautiful highlight, very hydrating, very, very brightening. For drag, obviously you wanna have it a little bit brighter than what you normally would. All in your same places. I like to go a little bit underneath the jawline to really help with that prominent jawline and cheekbone. This one, I'm gonna grab a sponge and I'm just going to tap that in just like normal. Okay, now that we have the contour and concealer on, time for the foundation. Okay, so if I was going to the club or if I was going out in public, I would definitely pick a more full coverage foundation, but because this is on video, it's a little bit different than in public. So I'm gonna grab my Rare Beauty foundation, absolutely love this foundation, and I'm just going to basically point where I want a little bit more coverage and just to even everything out. Just like that. And now we're gonna grab a nice dual fiber brush and we are just going to stamp and swirl into the face. So we're going to stamp that all into the face just to blend everything a little bit more seamlessly together. After we have that, we're just gonna go in with your sponge just to really blend everything together. Now we have a pretty decent full coverage side, you guys. I am gonna grab a little bit more foundation just in my trouble spots. Okay, so I just put a little bit more in where I get my beard area. If you do have a pretty distinct 5 o'clock shadow, obviously you guys can color correct. I personally don't own a color corrector, which is surprising with how much makeup I own. But you can always, so to get rid of darkness, you can add the reds in. So the beard area, if you have a redness in the skin, you can get rid of that by green. So really all depending on what you're trying to get rid of. Okay, now that that is all done, I am going to grab some setting powder and press it into the face so I know that it's not going anywhere. Okay, now that we are set, we are going to bake because, let's be real, people love baking for some reason. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but in drag looks, I always bake. So we are just going to press the powder in, and anywhere where we really want that lift, so under the eyes, on that forehead, under the cheekbone, we are going to bake at 350 for about 20 minutes. Okay, now that we're baking, because this is gonna take a little bit longer, I'm gonna go finish this side of my face, and I'll be right back. And we're back. Glam side is all done. You guys know how I do that. I just did a tutorial up on the other day, and it's been about 20 minutes now that the baking is set. So we are going to wash all of that away with a big old fluffy brush. Big old fluffy brush. Okay, now we get into the contour portion of drag. So again, this is to add feminine features into the skin and to make your face different than what it already is. Okay, so I like to still grab a pretty fluffy brush, but I hold it tight at the core of the brush just so it creates a very dense brush. And I am going to go in with all of my contours in my 8M palette and really focus on my cheekbone and pressing it into the skin. And again, press and not sweep. Because we're trying to get that snatched cheekbone, we want to make sure that it doesn't go everywhere. Same thing on the jaw. Really snatched. Snatch. Obviously this one you can go back and forth a lot more. And then you can go a little bit on that forehead. I don't like to go much just because I go really heavy on the cream contour on my forehead. But I do like to go a little bit more. So you guys can just see the difference that makes between each side. Obviously this is going to be blended out a lot more. But for drag you want the most without looking like the most, if that makes any sense at all. I'm going to add a little bit more onto that jaw, or the cheekbone. Okay, so you guys can just see the difference. This is very soft, this is very glam, this is very everyday. This basically changes the shape of your face in a way. Your cheekbones are very prominent. Again, we're gonna go in with a little bit of powder just to like soften underneath. We still have blush, we still have highlight, so we still have lots of room to go. Now we're gonna go in with the blush, and I'm gonna go in with the tip of my brush on the tip of my cheek to really lift it up, and I'm going to drag it almost into that contour. And again, because I like a lot of blush, I'm gonna add more blush. We're gonna put a little bit of blush on that forehead, a little bit on that nose, and a little bit on that chin. Okay, another thing for drag makeup, I'm not gonna do it now just because I don't think it's really worth it. But if you were to perform in a club or under crazy lights, make sure you bring your foundation all the way down your neck. There's nothing worse than a queen who does this one shade and then this is a completely opposite. Unless if you're Got Mick and you do that amazing makeup look that he did on his entranceway. That's really the only way that you can get away with it. Make sure you're blending your whole skin into your skin. Cool. Don't be that queen. Don't be that bitch. Okay, now to get that snatched line underneath that cheekbone, we are gonna go in with the Dragon Beauty powder. This is like a face correcting powder, beautiful, very brightening. And I'm gonna grab just a nice fluffy brush, pack that in, and we are just gonna go right in underneath that jawline, or cheekbone, sorry. Okay, we're also gonna take that powder and we're gonna really brighten up those under eyes. Brighten up that temple, brighten up the bridge of the nose, and brighten up that chin. Again, we're bringing everything that we want forward and everything that we don't want back. So just like that, you guys can see really the difference of everything with drag, contour, and blush and everything like that. We're gonna add a little bit of highlight and then we're gonna go on to lashes and lips. Okay, now just like that, I'm gonna go finish the eye. So I'm just gonna basically redo everything that I did on the top with the bottom lash line. I am gonna do, actually, you know what? We're gonna do this together because I've decided that I want to go a whole different direction with this look. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go in with a nice little bullet brush. We're gonna grab the purples that we used, and we are going to basically draw a line a little bit lower than your natural lash line. Okay, so because this is drag, we want it nice and deep. Okay, now we're gonna take that same bullet brush, grab the blues, and go really down to create a false beginning. All right, now I'm gonna go in with a thin liner brush, a little bit of concealer, and cut out my fake inner corner. Grab a liner brush, grab some concealer, and time to cut. Okay, now that we have that fake inner corner, we are gonna go in and add that white shimmer that we had on in that beginning of the lid. So we're gonna grab that on a very like fluffy pencil brush, and we're just going to pat that in to that inner corner. And just like that, it gives you such a beautiful effect to the eye and allows your eyes to pop a little bit more. Now I'm just gonna go finish this eye and I'll be right back. Okay, now that highlight is done, do a little bit on that brow bone, did this under eye. I did not bring it down just because it's the glam version of the look. But I think it looks absolutely stunning, you guys. So we are gonna go in with lashes. Oh God, I am hiccuping and burping today so much. So we're gonna go in with lashes. We're gonna go into the style BK. These lashes I absolutely love because these will work on a very basic look, but these will also work on a very dramatic look. So I'm going to put these on. I'll be right back and you guys will just see the difference, how the lash looks, even though that it's the same lash, if that makes any sense. And we are back with the lashes on. I'm gonna go throw on a lip. I'm gonna overdraw this one. I'm gonna leave this one normal and I'll be right back. Okay, just a little tip, when you are doing your lips and you are overlining, make sure you are getting a lip liner that is darker than your lip color. Okay, if you go lighter, you are going to have this weird like edge in your lip and it's gonna look like you're overdrawing. But if you go a lot darker, it won't have that problem. So drag queens, remember that. I don't wanna see your crusty busty lips and I don't wanna see your edges. Thank you. And lips are done and looking flawless and looking very, you know. But anyways, thank you guys so much for coming to watch this. This was the difference between drag and glam. Okay, so drag, obviously you can see it's a lot bolder, it's a lot sharper contour, bigger lips, more highlight, more blush. Glam, same color scheme, but this one you could wear going out to the club without looking too crazy. But it's just nice, soft. Skin is very skin-like rather than that caked on look. But again, if you're using the right products and you're using the right ways, it shouldn't look caked on. Okay, so just remember that. I hope this was helpful for some of those beginner drag queens out there, people that just love makeup or just want to experiment. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna log off now, so bye.